The Democrat Party is the evilest institution in the history of the world. From 1800 to 1860, it was the party of slavery. From 1860 to 1865, it was the party of the Confederacy. From 1865 to 1970, it was the party of Jim Crow. Now, it is the party of Marxism, murder, poverty, hatred, envy, and oppression. The Democratic Party is not just happy with keeping you poor and destitute and in slavery. It will not stop until it sends your soul to hell.
We got the floor. We're trying to help.
So our friend Vince Everett Ellison.
Joining me now is Vince Everett Ellison.
Well, back with us to set us straight is Vince Everett Ellison.
Vince Ellison.
Vince Everett Ellison.
Vince Everett Ellison.
Vince Everett Ellison.
Vince Ellison.
Vince Everett Ellison.
Okay, Vince, we're ready for you.
America is dying, and the Democrat Party celebrates. I am not a preacher. I am not a preacher. I am just here to warn you, to help you understand that the Democrat Party is the evilest institution in the history of the world, and their intent is to take your soul to hell. They want to make sure that you never enter the kingdom of heaven, and they want to destroy America. Now, I know you're saying that's a bold statement, but I have the facts to back it up. According to April 22nd, 2022 Census Bureau report, Democrat Party policies encouraging abortion, family breakdown, and godlessness has caused the U.S. population to grow at the second lowest rate for any 10-year period since the birth of this nation. And they say full speed ahead. The nation's birth rate has declined for the 6th straight year, and they tell us to be tolerant. Well, Thomas Mann said tolerance becomes a crime when applied to evil. And the Democrat Party is evil. I mean, everybody knows that these statistics exist. The Washington Post has talked about them. The Atlantic has talked about them. The Cato Institute has talked about them. But the nation is dying. And they say, let's abort more babies. Let's groom more children. Let's keep up the pace of destroying the black community, the white community, the Asian community, the whole world. They have perfected destroying communities, keeping people afraid. After the sad massacre up in Buffalo, started reading the paper and everything was about fear in the black community. Fear, fear, fear. They feed on it. And they want America to be afraid. And the black community is just a experiment for them. They intend to expand this all over the nation the first chance they get. And they've been trying, and they're going to continue it until they get it. They've never seen an American they didn't want to kill. And they're coming after you. And they don't just want to take your body. They want to take your soul. Now, they say they love you. Yeah, right. How can you love someone that encourages you to destroy yourself, to separate yourself from God? How can you love someone that says, I want you to give me power to sexually groom children, to bring fentanyl over the border and kill over 100,000 young people every year? How can you love someone that set up a dystopia where you're afraid to walk the streets at night? You're afraid to even lay down on your couch and watch TV because somebody might shoot a gun and a bullet comes through your window, killing either you or your children. That's the Democrat Party. If they get in power, you're going to see this type of crime in every city in America because this is how they maintain control. They've always used terror. They've always used murder. They've always used intimidation. This is their stick. They are not going to change it. So they want to tell you, hey, everything's going to be fine. You guys just join us and everything will be cool. No, it never has been cool. It never will be cool. New York, Chicago, Detroit, you name them. They've always been bastions of crime, and they've always kept control through terror. And this terror is another mechanism and another tool for them to maintain control because, as you see, they still have control. Everywhere they rule, they control every whorehouse, they control every crack house, they control every failing school, they control every drug corner, they control every corrupt judge, every corrupt police captain. Everybody's just sending black people to prison, all controlled by this cabal of perverts, murderers, and psychopaths that call themselves the Democrat Party. Look at the condition of the black community. At the bottom of every socioeconomic statistic in America, they're at the top of everything that's bad and at the bottom of everything that's good. When it comes to crime, at the top. Family destruction, at the top. Dope, fighting, poverty, you name it. They're at the top. Everything bad, they're at the top. Everything good, income, bottom. Business ownership, bottom. Home ownership, bottom. And yet black preachers and politicians walk around here strutting like they've done something. Black politicians acting to be reelected. It's like a coach going 0-11 for 50 straight seasons and asking for a contract extension and having an attitude if you don't give it to him. Ain't won a game in 50 years. But sadly enough, the colleges keep hiring him and say, yeah, man, he gonna get better. You gotta say something wrong with the college, and it's gotta be something wrong with the coach. Why do you keep hiring the guy? Now the black community says he's the only one running. Because the Democrats won't put nobody up and the Republicans won't put nobody up against it. So we got no choice but to vote for it. So why would the Democrats keep putting him up when the community is at the bottom? Why don't they look at James Clyburn and say, James, man, you've been there 32 years and your district is worse than it was before you got there. I think it's time for us to fire you. No, instead, they gave him a promotion. Jim becomes the whip of the Democratic Party and kept the job for 20 years. Why? Because this is what he's supposed to do. He is the creme de la creme. If you want to be a good Democrat, look at Jim Clyburn. This is what he did, y'all. He kept his district poor, crime-ridden, and under the control of the Democrat Party. And if you want to keep your job, that's the guy. Jim Clyburn is the Muhammad Ali of the Democrat Party, the greatest. And it's a shame. It's Hitler, it's Mussolini, all over again. They're going to see how far they can go until we stop them. See, we have a limit. That limit is Jesus Christ. They don't have him. They have no limit. They have no bottom. This is why they can have 100 pronouns now, you know? This is why they can transition and detransition and transition and detransition. This is why they believe they can teach your child they're an oppressor, teach my child that they are oppressed. This is why they can take prayer out of schools, God out of schools, make fun out of everyone. These people have no limit, and they are not going to stop until we make them stop. And they live in the Democratic Party. You know, what has happened to the Democratic Party? It's always been kind of racist and mean-spirited. But now it's racist, it's mean, and it's insane. This is state-sanctioned insanity. drag queen story hour? Men in dresses shaking their behinds in the face of children? Schools that are allowing children to come and transition without even telling the parents anything about it. Boy can come to school with pants on and a shirt, and he can come to school and change in his dress and put on makeup. And the teachers won't tell the parents nothing about it. Help him transition. This is insanity. And they are trying to make us think it's proper behavior. This is what it looks like when the inmates take over the asylum, where the crazy guy becomes a warden, and what is sane becomes insane, and what is insane becomes sane. And they are trying to convince us that this insanity is sensible. And it's time for us to push back and call them exactly what it is. We need to look right at them and say, you guys are crazy. You've lost your minds. And crazy don't work here. If the devil walks this earth, he lays his head at the DNC, the Democrat National Committee. That's where he lives. That's his domain. That's where he keeps his bed and all the clothes that he wears. This evil institution, this slaughterhouse called the Democrat Party. This is not a political problem. This is the problem of the spirit and the soul. In 1962, the Supreme Court took prayer out of schools. Took it out, said that people couldn't pray in schools anymore. The children couldn't be allowed to pray. That's pretty interesting and contradictory when our founding document, the Declaration of Independence, says that our rights come from God. They are unalienable, which means they come from God. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and are bound by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Now, you can't talk about where those rights come from. So they told the children you can't talk about God, so how do these children know where their rights come from? How are they going to be taught about the foundations for their being in America? If it's not God, it's got to be government, right? Well, by 1983, Ronald Reagan's president, and they have this report coming out, Nation in Crisis. The public education system is torn asunder. Now, in 1962, we had the best educational system in the whole world. By 1983, it's destroyed. Matter of fact, the report says that if a foreign nation had forced upon us the educational system that we have today, we would consider it an act of war. The report said we need to do this and do this and do that to change it. And you know what they've done? Nothing. You know why? Because it's what they want. What we see as failure, they see as success, because this is what they've always wanted. An ill-educated, dependent population. And that is what they have. It's like going to a plantation owner and says, you know what, man? You rich? Yeah. But your slaves are living in shacks and shanties, can't read and can't write. What you need to do is teach these black folks how to read and write so they can do better. And then the slave master goes, and do what, leave me? Then I'll be the slave. You think I'm going to teach my slave to have more sense than I have? Get out of here. And when you go to Baltimore, that's what you see. Oh, black people love charter schools. They like vouchers, school choice. Matter of fact, when you ask black people about school choice, it polls in the 90th percentile. Polls very, very high. But if you want to find out who hates charter schools, it's always black politicians. And it's easy. The National Education Association gives 97% of all of their campaign contributions to Democrats. And of course, the NEA wants a monopoly, and the Democrats give them that monopoly. And it doesn't matter that in Baltimore, most of the schools up there can't teach children to even read. But they increase the budgets every year. They're spending close to $20,000 a child in Baltimore, and they still can't teach a child to read. We're going to come in and give these black folks vouchers, school choice. No! We're going to start a program to put the family back together. No! Well, can we at least arm the citizens so they don't have to worry about the criminals and the dope addicts kicking their door in? No! Can we at least keep the illegals out so that we can keep the drugs coming in? No! No! No, no, no. Why not? Because I'm getting 90% of the vote. I'm not shaking up that wagon. Why would I do that? You think I'm crazy? I'm getting 90% of the market share, man. until they make me change, until I start losing 90% of the vote, I'm not changing a thing. And see, and that's what the people have to start doing. They have to start making them feel pain for bringing this pain on them. The Democratic Party is the evilest organization in the history of the world. And until we come to the conclusion, until we understand that we have to define them in those basic terms, we'll never be free of them. And this country will never be as good as it needs to be. They've destroyed the black family, and now they're destroying the American family. This is what they want. They could stop it tomorrow if they wanted to. If you gave me the federal government, I secure the border tomorrow. End crime in the inner cities tomorrow. They know how to do it. They don't want to do it. They win. So when you look at and you scream about what's going on in the black community and why black people are in such bad shape, you got to look at the local people who run the schools, who run police departments, who run the jails and run the judgeships. You look at that and you'll find they're all Democrats. They know what they're doing. They win. Kwesi Mfume won his seat back in Baltimore. Easy. The mayor is Democrat. City council, Democrat. Wherever you find poor, helpless people, the Democrats are in control. Whether it be Memphis, whether it be Detroit, whether it be New York, whether it be Baltimore, whether it be Philadelphia, whether it be Chicago, they're there. They run the show, and they're not going to change a thing. Why? Because they win. It's a slave plantation, man. And once you've decided to become a free man, become a free woman, there's nothing on this earth that can stop you, not even the Democrat Party. Freedom is always a choice. Slavery is a choice. And people try to get angry at you when you try to say slavery was a choice. Well, how can it not be when people chose to be free, when they left slavery? Too many of them. This is a great statistic that said that the freedmen up north, when it came time to fight in the Civil War and Abraham Lincoln called out for them to join, 87% joined the Union Army. 87%, over 200,000 free black men joined the Army. The very ones that had escaped slavery. Almost every slave that escaped slavery during the Civil War and crossed the Union lines put on the blue uniform and came back and fought. That was their mindset, the mindset of a free man. Now, the Homestead Act comes out in 1865. Give any able-bodied man willing to work the land, about 100 acres of land. Only 5,000 slaves took it up. 5,000 slaves of the almost 2 million that were down south. 5,000. This is because of a slave mentality. Slavery is a choice. It was a choice then, it's a choice now. And you have black people today still choosing to be part of the Democrat Party, and the ones that are doing it are choosing slavery, and they are choosing hell. C.S. Lewis said hell is a choice, just like slavery. And when he said that, I said, wow, what is C.S. Lewis talking about? Hell is a choice. Who would choose to go to hell? But then, every time you see an obese person that refuses to go to the gym or go on a diet, they're choosing hell. Every time you see a woman in a marriage where she's being beat up by her husband, an abusive relationship, and won't leave, she's choosing hell. Every time you see someone that needs to learn to read or learn a skill, and there's a school willing to teach them for free, and they choose not to go, they're choosing hell. You know what I found out when I go into these ghettos and I find these people that vote for the Democratic Party en masse? And you tell them about school choice, and they all want it, but they will not vote against the Democrats that won't allow them to have it. You find that they want safety, but they won't vote against the Democrats that take their guns away or allow the drug dealers on the streets or allow people to kick their doors in. They say that they want a better life, but they won't vote against these Democrats that allow these hoodlums to come in and destroy their way of living. I found out something. They don't desire freedom. They just desire a softer bed in their cells. They won't be made comfortable in their poverty. Hell is a choice. And these people are choosing it every single day. But the good thing about that is that they can unchoose it. Well, I worked in a prison for 5 years as a correctional officer. after I left college. And I saw so many young black men locked up. It was interesting because I thought we had overcome. My father was a sharecropper, and he brought us out of poverty. Hard work. He started in the insurance industry, brought us out of poverty. We started a singing group called the Alton family. So how much my father believed in, respected him, and revered God. Went around the South singing gospel music. And he never had a bitter bone in his body. Never said a racist thing about anyone. Then when I started working in the prison, I saw, it was in the 90s, and the Clinton-Biden crime bill had just been passed. And they were locking up black men all over the country. South Carolina had 3 prisons in 1980. By the end of the 1990s, they had over 40. And they were locking up these black men all over the state, really all over the country. And so I resigned my post, and I went and asked the black intelligentsia, I mean, why are these young men being locked up like this? What's going on? And of course, all of these black Democrats told me, oh, it's these evil, rich, white Republicans. They hate black people and they just want to lock them up. And me being naive said, really? So I resigned my post, started a nonprofit, went down into the ghettos to try to help out these young black men. I found out something real interesting. When I got down there, I saw no evil white Republicans anywhere. All I saw was a bunch of black Democrats. I mean, you would see a unicorn or a leprechaun before you saw an evil, rich, white Republican down in those ghettos. But the ones that you saw making most of the money off of the chaos was these 3 entities: the black preacher, the black politician, and the black civil rights organizer. And I call them the Iron Triangle. And they were conduits between the black community and the rich liberals in the Democrat Party. And they had one job, to make sure that the black community voted for the Democratic Party every election by hook or by crook. They didn't care how you did it, as long as you got it done. They'd bribe you, they'd intimidate you, they'd bust you to the polls, they'd give you a bottle of liquor and a pork chop sandwich. It didn't matter. And they were good at it. And they're not ashamed of it. They got sold to the polls now. I see Democrat politicians standing in front of a sold to the polls bus. Sold to the polls is run by leftists, atheists who care nothing about God, but they know that these black preachers are going to get their congregations to vote for the Democrat Party. So you got sold to the polls, you got street money, you got ballot harvesting, you name it, you got it down in the ghettos, and you haven't seen crooked campaigning till you get down there and start with the black preachers, those black politicians, and those black civil rights organizations. They are masters at the game. And so when you start looking at Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, Jim Clyburn, when you start looking at the old stalwarts like the Clintons and all of these nonprofits that they have out, oh yeah, it is an organization, and it is one of the most evil enterprises ever set up in the history of man. One of the greatest weapons and one of the most successful tactics of the Democrat Party is how they divide Christians and divide the body of Christ. Jesus' last prayer before he went to the cross was for us to be unified, because he knew that Satan was going to come and divide his people. And they've done a great job. They will take the slightest difference in an individual, and they will say, because of that difference, these people hate you. Or if you don't have what you think you're supposed to have, it's because these people have looked at that difference and they decided to keep it from you based on that difference. And that is a lie. When King went up to Chicago, a Democrat-controlled city, he said there was more hatred there than he'd ever seen in the South. See, these people are Marxist in their hearts. And based on the Marxist construct, you cannot make it on merit. They have to be the provider. They have to be the one that gives it to you. But see, if you believe in Jesus Christ, he tells you that you're more than a conqueror. You can achieve anything that you want. So what they've done, they're very smart, they're canny. They'll say, if you're a Native American, oh, these people hated you, they took your land. If you're black, you came from slaves. Oh, they discriminated against you. They've taken away your civil rights and your human rights, and we are here to protect you. Or if you're a woman, oh, they hate you because you're a woman. We're here to protect you. A woman doesn't make nearly as much money as a man makes, and we're here to make sure that we clear up all of this gender discrimination. If you're quote unquote gay or lesbian or straight or whatever it is, these people don't like you because of your sexual orientation. We're here to protect you because of this. They look for division. This is what Satan always does. That's the very definition of evil. They look to divide. They never look to bring you together. They look to divide you. They want you to look at each other with a jaundiced eye and with suspicion. They want you to be prideful and puffed up and full of hate. That's the Democratic Party. That is their politics. It's always been their politics. It always will be their politics. You know, the Democratic Party is very, very shrewd. They have branded themselves as the party of compassion. It's a type of compassion where I used to see a guy beat up his wife and say, I'm doing this because I love you. You know, that type of compassion. The guy that beats up his children and locks them up and say he's doing it because he loves them. No, he's doing it for control. The way they sell it is that they first have to demoralize you. The pain is the point. It's a trick of the devil. And they've been great at it ever since slavery. We keep you here on this plantation to work for us because we care about you. We can't let you go out there. That's the Democratic Party, man. They're masters at it, and they've always done it, and they're never going to stop it till we make them. Joe Biden, you know, he always says he came from a slave state. So he sees himself as a plantation owner anyway, right? He sees the inner cities as a cotton field. And he puts the Black Caucus up there and the Black preachers and the Black Civil Rights Organizations as the house Negroes, and so it's a variation on the thing. So,
they're going to put you all back in chains.
So he wants Black people to make sure, understand, that whatever you get comes from the benevolent master. So he gets the Supreme Court opening. He says, I'm going to give it to a Black woman. He's got to be the benevolent white master, and you have to be the one to say, thank you, boss. Thank you, boss. Thank you, boss. Look at what the good boss did. He gave this to me because I was too stupid to earn it, and he gave it to me. No. You don't give me nothing. I call it that low voltage racism, where Martin Luther King said, we need to integrate with you because you're so much better than we are, which is Black inferiority. And then there were the white people on this one side that said, no, you're not, we're the same. Why do you want to leave your community and forcibly come into ours? And then you have the Christians that had the low voltage racism and said, but you know what? They're right. We are better than them. And they do need to integrate with us so we can make them better people. So let's let these lower life forms come and glow in our sunshine, and we'll make better people of them. You understand? It's the white man's burden that when you look at me and you think that way about me, you're thinking of me as an inferior. And that there means that you are not living the Christian life. You're not having a Christian walk. And it's these liberal white Christians that feed it more than anybody else. And it enrages me, but they've fallen for it. And it's troubling because they said, we're good people because we're compassionate. You're not compassionate. You're a racist. End of story. Because you come to me and try to treat me less than I am. You can sit down and talk to white and Black Christians and you'll see they believe 99% of everything. And they'll take that 1% and make us fight each other and fight each other and fight each other. Make us hate each other. Because they know that if we ever come together, the left is doomed. When you ask us about abortion, most Christians, Black and white, abhor it. When you ask about school choice, Black and white Christians both want it. When you ask about the right to keep and bear arms, Black and white Christians agree with it. When you ask about LGBTQ and gay marriage, Black and white Christians believe in traditional marriage. When you ask about the border, most Black and white Christians believe the border should be secure. When you ask them, should a person work for a living and make their own money? Most of them say yes. They don't believe in welfare and handouts. So what are we fighting about? I had the privilege of exploring this topic with the Young Americans Foundation. If Black and white Christians ever start talking, if we ever sit down and let each other know that we have much more in common than we have in disagreement, once we start doing that, the left is done. It's over, and they know it. And that's why they keep this false animosity between us. Oh, Catholic, Protestant, Jew, Muslim, all people of the book. If you sat down and spent a little time with each other, you found out you agree on like 99% of everything. And it is good because I've done it too many times. Good people all around, but they know they can never let us come together, and they'll do anything to keep us apart. So we have to fight against that and just start talking to one another also. They are making black people believe that white Christians hate them, and then they're making white Christians believe that black people hate them. And we walk past each other daily, and we won't speak, and we won't talk, and we won't sit down and have that conversation, because just like the snake in the garden, he's whispering in the ear. He's whispering in the ear, they hate you, they hate you. And it's a lie. I walk between these two worlds, the black and white Christian world, and I'm always amazed at how much we agree on everything, and how it's so important that we come together and that we sit down and that we fellowship together and that we eat together and that we pray together. We're praising the same God. And he demands that we love one another. Doesn't matter what color he is as long as his blood is red. That's the only thing that matters. It wasn't a suggestion. He demanded that we forgive one another. He demanded that we give forbearance to one another. He demanded that we protect one another. See, and that's another thing. Christianity is not a religion of nonviolence. It's a religion of non-aggression. There's no virtue in me walking down the street and seeing a 3-year-old girl getting accosted, and I'm sitting there and saying, well, since I'm a Christian man, I can't do nothing. No. My job is to go and grab this guy, whoop him until he stops fighting, hold him for the police, and turn him in, so he doesn't hurt anybody else. It doesn't make any sense for me as a Christian man to allow another man to come into my house at night and rape my daughters and my wife because I'm nonviolent. No, that is a lie. Christianity is a religion of non-aggression, which means that if you don't bother me, I don't bother you. But I have a right to protect my property, my family, and myself from anyone that wants to do us harm. Any of these people out here that take my kindness for weakness or my love for weakness, you're making a mistake. Because if you come and you try to hurt me or mine, I got 2 things to get you off me. That's Jesus and my 38. I'd advise you not to try me.